Hey, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Hey, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Badass Black Girl. Today, we have the privilege of hosting Kimberly Gordon. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you introduce yourself for those of us who don't know you.
Okay. My name is Kimberly Gordon. I'm an author, visual artist, and educational content creator. My ninth book is going to be released on May 1st, which is a children's picture book for early readers from birth through about age 7 or 8. I'm really excited for this because I actually created all of the collage work within this art piece, which I haven't done in a long time. So I'm really excited. I'm also heading a program called 100 Classes for Black Kids, which we provide Zoom classes of supplemental educational opportunities for kids of all backgrounds.
This is so awesome. And I love how you casually mentioned that it's your ninth book. It's like, wow. Can you stop 1 second and let us digest this? Wow, you have 9 books out.
Thank you.
This is so extraordinary. Thank you for being here. I definitely want to talk about your journey because I can imagine having 9 books out. It's been quite the journey. Let's talk about
Yes,
that. How
yes.
did it start?
Well, I always wanted to write a book since I could. So 6, 7 years old. I didn't really know how to do it. So I chose basically English in school and school from middle school, elementary school. I was always in the art club and the writing workshop class, and I always loved doing it. But I never understood it as an actual career. So in college, I actually started off as an English major. I wasn't in love with the English major. The whole Shakespeare and all of the literature that went around with it, I wasn't totally in love with it. I discovered Africana studies and also visual integrated media communications, in which I fell in love with everything involved with my classes and my professors there. Still, I wasn't still understanding that an author is something that I could do. So I ended up going to marketing, kind of following, I guess, the money and following what I thought I was supposed to do. Within marketing, there were ways that I could use my creativity in terms of creating, say, promotional videos or even logos of that sort. But it wasn't until I actually had my first child that I realized, like, this is not the life for me, that I want to follow my passion and my goal. So that's kind of how I got started becoming an actual author. I actually said, look, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And that's how I started.
That's awesome. I love the purpose that comes with all of this. I'm going to do this because of this, and nothing is going to stop me. This is such a valuable lesson. And um, I'm curious about the fact that becoming a mother gave
Yes.
you some perspective. So
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about that. The writer's experience
Mhm.
and the and motherhood, how they intersect, how they guide one another.
Yes. So I think a lot of it was learning to be true to myself and making myself happy. I was working in marketing long hours away from my then newborn. I lasted about a year until a little bit of her first birthday, and that's when I kind of left the corporate world. But I really was not living my purpose. I had a desire to create, and I wasn't. And it was very hard for me to understand how to kind of raise my daughter and kind of teach her about finding yourself and your purpose without following it myself. So as a mother, I'm able to live in my truth. And as I learn and grow and create what comes to me, I'm able to teach my children as well. So it's really a personal journey. And I've become very fulfilled as a mother and learned how to find myself in that journey as well.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the themes in your books. One book that was particularly interesting to me is A Doll Like Me,
Yeah.
because of course it features that cute little girl, but also it's about becoming an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I think it's so needed, particularly among girls,
Yeah.
because we've made a lot of progress, yes, but there's still this idea that being an entrepreneur, being a businessman, is something that boys and guys do,
Yes.
right? And here's a book that teaches kids that there are other possibilities that maybe they haven't been thinking about. So let's
Definitely.
talk a little bit about this book and kind of um, other themes that are very important to you.
Okay. Well, A Doll Like Me is my baby. Um, this is the book that stemmed from a conversation with my then, I believe she might have been 5-year old daughter. And she mentioned that she wanted a doll like her. And from that, I said, wow, that's a great book idea. I never considered writing books for children. I started mini novels from all genres, excluding children's book. And I said, wow, let me do it. And that kind of sparked me to pull everything that I had learned. I started my business actually, I would say 4 years or 4 or 5 years prior to this conversation. So I entered that entrepreneurship world as a female that unfortunately in some situations I needed to have a male in the room to be taken seriously. I learned a lot of things that I wish I knew as a child in the last 3 or 4 years. So as I learned that, as I started to explain that to my child, I said, let me pull this into the book. And that's basically what A Doll Like Me is. It's about a little child that has this idea. And because she has parents that are entrepreneurs, she was born with this. And that's something that I was hoping that my children will have as they grow, but also other children, that if they have an idea, they can run with it. And they learn that no matter if they are a young child, a female, a male, whatever they identify with, that they can make their dreams and their visions come true. And that's kind of the idea behind that book.
And I was pleasantly surprised when I found Black Girl Boss, the
Yeah.
coloring book, because
Yes.
I recognized the character instantly.
Yes.
And I thought, oh my God, it's so cool that kids have access to a book that it represents them, right?
Yeah.
Black girls, black boys, because although it's the Black Girl Boss coloring book, it's really for any black kid, because you have all those very friendly characters, um, driven characters, most importantly. And I kept thinking about how difficult it was for me when I was growing up to find books in which I recognized myself. I was telling a friend this morning that it wasn't until I was maybe 16 or 17 that I read my first novel with a black female lead,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So kids are getting representation these days, black kids, and it's thanks to authors like you. And I'm curious about your experience with the coloring book. Um,
Yes.
what do you feel has been something very surprising about putting it out, or something refreshing, or something inspiring? Anything you want to share? I'm just eager to hear all about it.
The coloring book surprised me because actually my most popular work, and I also do have some nonfiction, some things that I have read, but the coloring book is very popular because I didn't realize at the time, but there are concepts in A Doll Like Me that adults have started to understand and learn from. And so that I realized that I was teaching a lot to the parents while they were reading. So the coloring book enabled parents to read it with the children and have the young children color and kind of digest what they were able to digest. And also the coloring book has also been pretty popular internationally as well. And I think that the activity aspect of that has helped the younger children and people might in other cultures try to understand and grasp the concepts. So I'm very happy that I did that. And I was very hesitant, but I kind of went with it, and it's been pretty successful in getting my message across.
And you're a writer and an illustrator, so it's like the full package.
Yes.
Uh, talk to us a little bit about that moment when you knew that you were an artist, that you had those skills given to you. That one moment when you're like, yeah, it's not just that I'm good at this, I'm really good at this.
That is a hard question for a creator. I'm never truly, it hasn't really hit me. I've received art awards, including Scholastic Awards, and I don't want to say that, I don't know if I felt worthy of it. I don't know if that didn't do it for me. I think when I had, maybe a few years ago, when I started having particularly mothers and fathers purchase my pieces for their children for their rooms. And then I started receiving a lot of DMs and messages about that and how they actually wanted something that I created hanging up on a wall. That's when it hit me. And it still to this day surprises me, but I just do it. And so I still create. I love it. It's something that even when I was in corporate America, I wanted to do, and I tried to stop myself from doing, but I would do for fun, or just kind of without anyone knowing. And it's really one of the most rewarding things that I can, I guess, produce is create art that might not necessarily fit the norm or what I might have thought was a norm, and people actually enjoying it.
Let's talk a little bit about process,
Okay.
because I know that when you're partnering with someone, you're writing the text and working
Mhm.
with the pictures. There are different ways of doing it. Sometimes someone comes up with the idea through
Yes.
pictures and then find a writer. Sometimes a
Yeah.
writer comes up with the story and then finds the illustrator. But
Yes.
in your case, you're doing both. So I'm very curious about your process, how you go
Yes.
from A to Z to create a book.
Well, I actually started A Dog Like Me with simply being the writer. And I actually ended up having a heavy hand in illustrations and learning that in order to get my true vision across in my style, that I would kind of need to own more of the process. And that's kind of, I just ended up there. Again, I didn't really kind of identify this is where I would be, but I'm very happy in this space to put out a product that I am completely happy about, that the representation of what I want included is there in my style as well. That's not necessarily the traditional style. But yeah, I really ended up here and just kind of learned to go with my gut and my feelings.
Do you have a schedule that you follow, or moments during the day when you're particularly inspired? At what point do you decide when to start to work?
Well, I am very inspired at night. I would say like 2 a.m. is a great time for me. Um, I would say maybe 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. In before and after. And luckily, that is a time that my house is completely quiet. My children are asleep. It's a time that I can totally just space out and do what I want. But also there are times during the day that I just have to create, and I do make, and I'm fortunate enough to have homeschooled children and have a schedule that I totally control, so I can do that. But typically it really is a late night, early morning for me, where everything is quiet, it's quiet outside, and I can just go and I can roll with it.
And what projects are you working on now?
Right now, well, I actually do have 2 novel series in the works that I'm working on now. And also I am developing a lot of video content for previous books that I have published, and also some new work that I've been working on that I'm fortunate enough through 5D Media, which is my media company that we have been commissioned to work on. And I'm very excited because I can bring the same representation that I've been through my books through video and other media projects as well. Also 100 A Class for Black Kids, which I am very passionate about. It's something that from having my children, I have a 10-year-old and a almost 7-year-old in a few weeks, and they are homeschooled. And I have found that a lot of the opportunities that I would say a lot of acquaintances that I have made in the homeschool circuit have been through either their home country. Let's say like Israel has a lot of programs, or the list goes on. There's a lot of programs for people of different backgrounds, and they're great, amazing programs, but I didn't see anything that my children were allowed to attend. Even in terms of, I know there's a lot in terms of a lot of different churches, and the Catholicism has them. I've noticed that they have a lot of programs that help children, but I didn't notice anything that fit for my kids. So this program really is something that my kids can go to, and we can really source different professionals in different industries to help them and provide them with just unlimited knowledge, which I know that can help children around the world. And so I'm super excited about that.
Kimberly, thank you so much for coming by and talking about your journey, about your work, your career. You're doing extraordinary work out
Thank you.
there. And I want to thank you for just being you and producing what you are producing. I hope you will stop by again at a later time and keep us posted on all the great things that you keep on doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Talk to you soon.